All right, welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time here from the Detroit airport on this Sunday night. We're happy to have you in for another episode of the Primetime Show. You're probably not very happy with how things went for your football team earlier today. I'm getting ready to fly home after watching that embarrassing nonsense. But in the meantime, we're going to spend a couple of minutes reacting to just how bad things got for Tennessee today. We are grateful that you guys are showing up, even though you have no reason to after watching this nonsense for 3 hours, 3.5, 4 hours, depending on how much time you actually spent. Maybe you didn't even stick with it the entire way. I would not blame you if you did not. They continued to embarrass themselves, and it was no different at the hands of a very good football team. I'll say that. That's the best opponent that the Titans have seen so far, and the worst possible result against the best opponent that they have seen to date, making you feel like you probably don't feel good about the direction that things are heading or how they got here or all these other things. So B-Bird says, we love you at A to Z, maybe just not our team. Oh, that's okay. I appreciate you showing up for us, even if it's just a bitch about your team here tonight. And there's plenty of things to bitch about, but I do think that we are at the point I do think that we're at the point where you have to start talking about fireable offenses, because what they continue to be is not a professional football team. Like that today was an embarrassment. That today was minor league. That today was something that should probably cost somebody their job, and that's a really tough thing to say 8 weeks into a season, but we're going to react to it together. I've got the stats here, my handy dandy stat sheet here at the Detroit airport. So we'll work our way through this nonsense together. We'll do it together, at least. At the very least, I've got you guys here to support me. I am here to support you for as long as I am physically able to do so. Troy Hines says, Buck, would you rather us go after Shador or Cam? A little mock draft Sunday, the rare mock draft Sunday here on the Primetime Show. I don't want you to draft either of them. I don't think that either of those quarterbacks is going to be a solution. And also, I'd like you to be competitive next year. And I don't think a rookie quarterback is fixing anything here for as bad as this football team appears to be. So I would say, take whatever draft pick you get, trade it back for as many draft assets as possible, find a Band-Aid to put on the quarterback position. Apparently, Bert is telling me that I sound underwater at times. I'm going to take my AirPod out, and you guys tell me if this doesn't sound better here at the airport, because I want to make sure that we at least sound decent tonight. How about that? Does that sound better, Bert? Okay, Bert is telling me that sounds better. So if you hear some cheering in the background, that's because people are watching their football teams and having fun, unlike you. So we'll work our way through these things. You'll hear from Brian Callahan. Spoke to the head coach, went in the locker room. I don't know if we should have gone in the locker room. Apparently, there is a crazy result happening in one of these games. I don't know which game it is because I'm sitting here talking about a shitty football team. So, maybe I'll catch up on the fun that everybody else is having on Tuesday when I get to watch the rest of the NFL slate. Anyway, welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time, live from the Detroit airport. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Of course, that is Two Rivers Ford, as at Ford Field today. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Also presented by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Spend your money with the sports book that just makes betting better. Zen Sports, promo code ATOZTN is how you get in on all the action. Of course, TrueMav Fitness, your first workout is free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout ever recycled or repeated. Go to TrueMavFitness.com for more information. 52 yards for the win. A Jaden Daniels Hail Mary is what Bert is telling me in the comment section. What an electric time. Apparently the Bears were victimized. Big time Timmy Tay says that was the craziest ending of the year, I think. Well, I'm sorry I missed it to talk about Titans football. Bum, bum, bum. Wah, wah. It just kind of seems like the vibes here lately. Charles Stewart says on Facebook Live, fire? Question mark? No, just tank. Levis effed our chances. Will Levis didn't play quarterback for you today. Mason Rudolph did, and that doesn't mean that Mason Rudolph was it's not to excuse Mason Rudolph or to blame Mason Rudolph, but this is if you think Will Levis is your only problem, then you didn't watch this football team play today. Like that's my biggest takeaway. And honestly, and I've been, the more that I'm processing this in my head, prime time's always fun after games because like I don't have time to completely like formulate my thoughts, but I have enough time for you guys to see me processing thoughts in real time, which I think is fun. The more that I think about it, the more that today's result makes me think that the coaching staff is overmatched and not, and honestly, it makes me blame Will Levis less. And in fact, I think that I would feel better if Will Levis was the only problem. But I just watched a football team today that didn't start Will Levis, hasn't started Will Levis for 2 weeks, just suffered their two largest losses of the season without Will Levis playing quarterback. So you're going to tell me this was Will Levis's fault? Because that would be pretty ignorant based on what's happening here. In fact, I think that Levis is such a not to say that he's any kind of solution, and I still would stick by my position to move him at the end of the year because I don't think that he's going to succeed here. As I watch Malik Willis win games for the Green Bay Packers in relief of Jordan Love dealing with groin injury, I think that Will Levis is the most convenient scapegoat, and he's the easiest person to blame. He's the easiest face to assign to this, but you can't blame him when Will Levis doesn't play and you still lose games. This is a situation where Will Levis being the only problem would make your life easier. And the fact that he's not even out there on the field to be a part of the problem makes this shit even worse. The more that I think about it, I think it just exposed a bunch of other problems beyond Will Levis in the last 2 weeks that you're seeing in real time, which make the thing that was the easiest thing to blame not the thing that's causing you as much of the problems as you thought that it was causing you. That is something that I just have to sit here for a second and wrap my head around because it's pretty crazy to see. So we'll start with your 2 versus 4 take. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section, if you would like to get involved there, you are always welcome to participate no matter where it is that you are live streaming your show or this show tonight as we broadcast to you live from the Detroit airport. Who should the Titans fire in response to the 52-14 loss to the Lions today? Do you think anybody should be fired? That is an interesting thing to kind of marinate on after your team gets pantsed the way that they did. And it's not the first time, right? So 1, do you think they should fire somebody? 2, if you think they should fire somebody, who do you think they should fire? And if you don't think that somebody should be fired, please explain why you don't believe that the 1-6 Tennessee Titans should fire anybody. Maybe it's because you don't think that because you think that firing somebody wouldn't help this situation. But I have a sneaking suspicion that more of your problems are coaching related than you had previously realized, and that these last 2 weeks have exposed that in big ways. Now, whether it's the offense exclusively or the defense exclusively or the special teams exclusively, no, it's some combination of all of it, right? But I'm looking at a coaching staff that doesn't problem solve in real time, or at least isn't capable of doing it yet. Maybe they will be someday. Maybe they'll grow into their roles. Maybe we're being too reactionary. But again, I don't think that you should move the goalposts on a team that should be able to win 6 or 7 games. Could have won at least the first 2 games of the season had they not given the games literally away and have done nothing. But they haven't gotten better. They've gotten worse. How do you get worse? I saw the Browns win a game today with a backup quarterback. I saw who else? I saw the Patriots win a game today with a backup quarterback. Jake Brisket, Jacoby Brissett had to go in there for the injured Drake May. They found a way to beat the Jets. Even bad football teams win games in the NFL. What the Titans are right now is not a professional football team. Like they're minor league. They're minor league. The product that I saw today on the field was minor league. And I think that really the fact that it's getting worse and not better is at the crux of these issues. John Gonzalez adds, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but John may have missed it. Yeah, Malik Willis The Jags came back in a game against the Packers, and the Packers were able to hang on because Malik Willis went in there for Jordan Love with a groin injury and found ways to win. Did it right. Blake Shelton, not that Blake Shelton, maybe it's that Blake Shelton, but it doesn't look like that. Blake Shelton says, we couldn't beat Vanderbilt right now. I don't know. Who should be fired? Because I think we are at the point where heads are going to roll. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be tomorrow. I don't even know it's going to be this week. But at the end of the year, there need to be changes made. And depending on how much worse this gets, the fires will only climb higher and higher. No pun intended. MB says, sorry, guys, Vrabel was run out of town, and you all were happy about it. Yeah, that's true. And here's the thing about Vrabel, because it's not like Vrabel's any happier on the 2-6 Browns team, right? The Browns are hideous too. Now, Mike's not coaching there. He's not a head coach. But, I think Vrabel was masking a lot of the problems the more time we spend watching this thing flounder about. So the idea that they are worse appreciably than when Mike Vrabel was the head coach, I do think Mike was capable of handling these situations better than Brian Callahan is. You're seeing the results of that right now. It's just it's messy. So let's get to the thing. Let's get to who I think needs to lose their job today, because I don't think I've ever called for somebody to be fired before quite this way. But there's no question that today was a fireable offense. But I'm going to let you watch a clip first before I tell you who. You might be able to figure it out from the clip. Let's watch Khalif Raymond return a punt return for a touchdown against the Titans. Titans legend.
Raymond from the 10-yard line. Raymond has one terrific return already today. Looking for a second. Raymond up the sideline. Across the 30. Khalif Raymond. Goodbye.
All right, so that's Khalif Raymond breaking the game open. I mean, the game was already broken open at 35-14, but continuing to pile on at 35-14, making it 42-14. Khalif Raymond, Titans legend, had 5 returns today. He had 190 return yards. He averaged 38 yards per punt return. He had a touchdown, of course. He had that 90-yard return that you just watched, and the Titans special teams unit was ghastly. 190 punt return yards in total, with 72 yards on the kick return. The Titans, it took basically until the third quarter for Mason Rudolph to have more yards passing than the Lions had in the special teams return games. Colt Anderson is the special teams coach. And Colt Anderson, this is his first time being a special teams coordinator. I don't think that he should be the special teams coordinator of the Titans anymore. I don't know how you could watch today and see a team. Yeah, you can blame players for poor execution if you want to, but I think that's a cop-out, frankly. I think that's a cop-out. You watch some of the angles those players took on that return. That return specifically already felt like it was out of hand. But, think about watching this team on special teams. Thinking about watching, the punt blocks earlier in the year, which they've stopped, by the way, built a statue to Colt Anderson. The issues that they continue to have, both blocking gunners and also blocking for returners. The fact that the saving grace of the Titans special teams is the 40-year-old kicker, Nick Folk, who doesn't miss and does his job and does it well and all these different things. But, yeah, they are poorly. I mean, they're a poorly coached team. Maybe I won't throw the defense under the bus, because the defense just got banged on short fields and stuff like that the turnovers created. So I won't say that Denard Wilson's defense is poorly coached. Nor do I think that Brian Callahan is I don't think Brian Callahan. Well, I don't know what Brian Callahan is. Right now, he's a bad coach because they're 1-6 and they don't find answers. They only get worse. They only unravel. They look like a poorly coached unit. But I'm gonna reserve total judgment on Brian Callahan, because I do think that there's such a way bigger learning curve to be going from coordinator to head coach than, for example, quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator, right? But the special teams coach probably should not have a job. Whether that's tomorrow whether that's at the end of the week, whether that's by season's end, and they throw Colt Anderson out there as a sacrificial lamb because they ended up 2-15 or something ridiculous. I really think that today's special teams performance was fireable. Now, Brian Callahan didn't want to comment on that in the postgame. In fact, you'll hear Gaharski going at him in the postgame. PK had one of the funniest press conference lines that I've ever heard, where Brian Callahan responds to a question, and in the midst of responding to PK's question, Paul just yells back at him, Why is it not time to talk about the special teams coach at this point? So if you want to blame the players, you can blame the players if you like. But because MB says on special teams, it's all about effort and willingness. I don't doubt their effort. I don't doubt their willingness. I don't think either of those things was not on display today. I doubt the person who is putting them in position to succeed. Blaming players often can be the easy thing to do. Oftentimes it is the incorrect thing to do. Oftentimes there are a million different things that the players are not responsible for, but the players get blamed for because people are reticent for whatever reason to put it on the coaching. No, today it's not a special teams effort issue. Like, I saw guys flying down the field. I saw guys over pursuing. I saw guys taking bad angles. I saw guys missing tackles. I saw a variety of different things, and I'm not going to completely absolve them because you're right. Some execution stuff was poor in there too, but ultimately that falls on the coach. Put them in better position to succeed. Get them to understand more of their roles, make them understand that it is max effort on every play on special teams, no matter how unimportant you think special teams to be. Turns out pretty damn important if you're not good at it. So I believe that there need to be changes. I believe that those changes are probably not just going to be reserved to the special teams coach. I don't know if they'll do it. I have no idea if they'll do it, but today was a fireable offense. And you know how Brian Callahan handles all of it. Whether Brian Callahan is also at risk or not remains to be seen. I know that the ownership doesn't like getting embarrassed, and they keep getting embarrassed. In fact, they are a bigger and bigger laughingstock each and every week. Richie Guzman said, how did Colt Anderson get hired? Well, I assume because Brian Callahan knew him from the Bengals. He was a special teams assistant in Cincinnati. That was his first NFL coaching job. Then he came here as the special teams coordinator with Brian Callahan. And now they're a mess. Leo says Bucks in Detroit about to battle Cheddar Bob after this. No, listen, Cheddar Bob just dog walked the Titans up and down the field. Cheddar Bob won today. Cheddar Bob is Jared Goff out here putting up MVP type of numbers and making the Titans look foolish because they outgained Detroit by a significant margin and got smoked, absolutely smoked, because they couldn't get out of the way. Justin Parr says all Brian did was hire buddies except Denard Wilson. Well, I mean, listen, here's the thing though. Like, that's the NFL. That is the NFL. All these coaches know one another in some form or fashion. Whether or not they're like besties remains to be seen. But like, I'm not going to kill Brian Callahan for hiring people he knows. Seems like a pretty safe bet when you come from an organization like Cincinnati. Wouldn't all of you at the start of the season taken a bunch of Bengals coaches and said, yeah, you know what, they're going to help us get better? There's plenty of people who hire friends that work in coaching in the NFL. Hell, Mike Vrabel did it with Dean Pease. Did any of you dislike the Dean Pease hire? I strongly doubt it at that point. But whether their friends are good enough at the jobs that they've been hired to do, that's a different question. So hiring friends in the NFL is not, it's not an uncommon practice. In fact, it's the most common thing in the world. Hiring friends that are capable of doing the jobs that they are hired to do. Now, that is a different question, and a determination that they'll have to make whether that person should continue to retain his job or not. T85 on YouTube says Callahan is a coordinator, not a head coach. Well, I mean, whatever it is, it's bad. Like, it doesn't matter who's doing what or what's going where or who's playing what positions. Like, this is ass. This is not professional football. Mr. Jones says Dean Pease was an elite defensive coach. Yeah, sure, but he's a buddy. Like, that's same principle applies. That's literally what I just said. Yeah, you can hire friends if they're good, right? And you can hire friends to give them an opportunity. And then when they're not good, if they're not good, then you have to be willing to make those changes. And that's not an easy thing to do. So what was the who should be fired? It should be the special teams coach based on the performance today. Now again, it does not bring me any joy to call for people's jobs. I'm not going to scream and yell about it. I just think that today, if you ask me straight up, if you asked anybody objectively whether or not what the Titans did on special teams was fireable today, the answer almost across the board would be yes. Todd Apple says we don't want to start rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, but Colt Anderson has to go. Yeah, I mean, listen, it doesn't guarantee that it fixes everything, right? Like, you could fire Colt Anderson and your special team still be shit, but I don't think that people should deserve to keep their jobs for how that went down today. I think that this is something that you have to look at and say, all right, realistically, is this football team getting better? And the answer is no. They get worse on a weekly basis. Freedom on YouTube. I don't know why that name just made me laugh, especially with that picture. Thank God the election's almost out of the way. Which, by the way, election day and trade deadline day are the same day. It's like the world hates us. But that's neither here nor there. Freedom says Titans sucked the last 2 years with Vrabel. You kidding? Yeah, but they didn't bottom out. Like, this is what a team looks like when they bottom out. Now you can say, well, seven wins and 6 wins were sucking. No, this sucks. They're the worst team in the league. They're the worst team in the league. No team has allowed more points to be scored on them than the Tennessee Titans did today. 52 is a season high by any NFL team against another NFL team. 51 was the previous. The Bucs put 51 on the Saints in Week 6. I went back and looked this up to see just how embarrassing this was. So another team has had a 50-burger put on them. Only 2 so far this year have. It's the Saints and the Titans. But at least the Saints had 27 points in that game. Like, at least they put up a fight. This is, like I said, it's minor league. It's minor league. MB says, good, then they deserve the number 1 draft pick. They certainly do. They are gonna earn their way to the top, or earn their way to the bottom, depending on how you want to look at this. I just don't think that fixes everything, because then you have to rely on a front office that drafted Will Levis and built around Will Levis to get the draft pick right. I don't know. Puka says, how many years did Aukerman mess up? Many years. And Titan special teams have been a disaster since Malarkey. So, apparently this franchise is cursed with special teams, wide receivers, quarterbacks. What else are you cursed with? That seems like a pretty solid list right now. Also pretty important things to be this catastrophic at. So, what was the most embarrassing part of the loss today? That's the next question I'm going to ask you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll get into it together right after I remind you the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app, bet on, not the Titans, God, don't bet on the Titans, but bet on something enjoyable. Bet on something that's going to make you happy. Betting just gets better at Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action. Terms and conditions do apply. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. It's also made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. We are broadcasting live here from the Detroit airport. Bert told me that my backdrop looks like one of these confessionals from the show The Office with Jim Halpert and that whole crew, which is hilarious. But, we do the primetime show wherever we need to do the primetime show. What was the most embarrassing part of today's loss? Was it the loss? Was it the quarterback play? Was it Calvin Ridley going over 100 yards for the first time this season, catching 10 of his 15 targets, and it being all for naught? What was the most embarrassing part of today's loss? You know how many passing? Oh, this is pretty bad. Wow. I just saw Jared Goff's stat line. This may beat out what I was going to submit, but I'll let you guys be the judge. Okay, Goff's stat line. Wow. You lost to a quarterback today that was 12 of 15 for 85 yards. He was sacked 4 times, and he had 3 touchdown passes, a rating of 129.9. What? That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. 12 of 15, 85 yards, sacked 4 times, 3 touchdown passes, 129.9. On the other side, 22 of 38, 266 is Mason Rudolph, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, a rating of 66.3. Man, I think that might be the most embarrassing thing. The special teams, catastrophic. That alone should get somebody fired. That you lost to a quarterback that had less than 90 yards passing because he had so many short field opportunities that he just ran up the score. Wow. Well, that's more embarrassing than what I was going to submit to you. What I was going to submit to you was Brian Callahan giving a post-game press conference and saying that the Titans, tell me if you've heard this before, have to play better and coach better.
All right, no injuries to report. Nobody left the game and didn't return, so there's nothing to report there. This is how you get beat by a really good football team at their place. Turn the ball over 4 times, you don't take it away once. You give up an unbelievable amount of return yardage in the return game, both in kickoff and punt. Put our defense in short fields. They scored 5 touchdowns in all 5 possessions that they were down in there. We allowed too many explosive plays, and we had too many penalties in the first half for sure. The positives of it are they only had 1 touchdown when they started in their own territory, but they started way too often in ours. Our defense played well enough, but again, the short fields didn't come up with any stops and found ways to let them score touchdowns. Other than the turnovers, I thought our offense moved the ball, especially in the first half against a good defense. We put a 14-14 game at one point, thought we had a good rhythm going, and we had a chance to keep the game tight, and we were playing good football. And then that's how the game gets away from you against a good football team. You give up a punt return for a touchdown, you give up a long kickoff, you give the defense another short field, and then you ultimately turn the ball over 4 times. And at some point, we're going to stop doing that, and we'll be able to play a competitive football game. But until then, that's what they look like when you turn it over like that and don't get any turnovers in return. So it's just not good enough anywhere. And again, you play a good team on the road that's built to capitalize on mistakes and make you pay for them. They did, and that's where we're at.
You have the guys in the locker room, they get paid to play. You got fans, they're paying to watch you guys.
Yeah.
When they see a performance like this, what do you say to them? What kind of hope do you give them to want to attend anymore?
Look, I'm not really in the business of trying to provide all that right now. We're just trying to play better football, and that's my focus. Putting guys out there that we fight. Our team plays hard, but we got to do a lot of things a lot better. And right now, it's not a product that people are excited to watch, and that's the way it is. We got to do something about that.
Your special teams have been overall horrific today, especially. Yeah. What's Colt Anderson done that says he's anything but a guy you were good friends with who might be over his head and too early in this position?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that. That's obviously we haven't played well enough on special teams, but that's a little bit too much for after a game.
Why?
But look, I think Colt's a good football coach. We haven't played well enough. We haven't coached well enough, so there's really nothing else to say about that.
Do you consider
It's the gotta play better, coach better thing at the end. It's Karski yelling why at him when he's saying that now is not the time to talk about making changes on special teams or whatever else it is. Tehran even gives him an opportunity to kind of, I don't know, say something about the direction that this thing is heading, give people some level of optimism for why they should stick it out with such a bad football team. Such a bad football team at this point. And he says, honestly, I'm not worried about that right now. Brother, you should be worried about it. Are you kidding me? It is unbelievable. And then to put the cherry on top of got to play better, got to coach better. And listen, Brian Callahan has no idea the history. Is it history? Sure, we'll call it history. The history that his new fan base has with that phrase, got to play better, got to coach better. But it is hilarious to me, objectively, that so many of you were celebrating Brian Callahan at his press conferences because he tells you so much more information and he, makes you feel so much better about all the different things that you're doing. And, oh, my God, transparency. And all the while I'm just sitting there and being like, they haven't played a game yet. They haven't faced any real adversity. They haven't gone through anything. They haven't survived injuries. They haven't done anything. So, let's see what happens when they're in the shit, for lack of a better term. And to hear him 8 weeks in offer up the line with a bunch more words around it that makes you all insane, got to play better, got to coach better. I looked at Jim Wyatt and I said, oh no. oh no, they've actually broken him. They've actually broken him. Now, obviously, I don't know that Brian Callahan is a broken human being, nor do I think that he's incapable of becoming a competent NFL head coach at some point in his career. Ben Hall says, Buck, is he on the hot seat now? Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's on the hot seat at 1-5. Now, the only reason I think that the two of them, Callahan and Carthon or Brinker and anybody that they signed to deals, the only reason I think any of them are safe right now is because they're still paying Mike Vrabel and John Robinson a shit ton of money. That is the only reason that I think that this whole collection of people, save the owner. The owner obviously isn't getting fired. You can't fire an owner. But, yeah, there should be no other reason besides they're on the hook for a shit ton more money for two people that they gave extensions to and then fired basically the year after. That's the only reason that I think that Brian Callahan and his staff and Rand Carthon and his staff are going to be here beyond 2024. Now, it could get worse and decisions could be made and she could say, you know what, it's not worth the embarrassment. It's not worth being the laughing stock of the National Football League. It's not worth feeling like a minor league team week in and week out, watching Buffalo and Detroit, the people that are actually competing for Super Bowls and, have found their ways out of worse situations, watching teams like that just kick your teeth in weekly. It's not worth it. Maybe she's still bought in. Maybe she's not been embarrassed enough yet to think that changes need to be made. But I don't know how you could look at this product, see that Mike Vrabel, and again, it's not even about Mike, because I know his name comes up a lot just because he was the most recent coach here. But it could have, and I've said this before, you can justify moving on from Mike Vrabel. You can do that. But you cannot dispute that Mike had no business winning 7 games and 6 games his last 2 seasons, and that he was covering up for a lot worse shit that was going on, and that he's probably relieved to an extent that he doesn't have to oversee this mess anymore. And that Brian Callahan, what can also be said is that, it made a lot of sense and could still work out. Doesn't have to, final determinations don't have to be made in week 8. They're under no kind of deadline to keep him or fire him. But it can also be true that the person who previously had this job was more equipped or better equipped to handle adverse situations as an NFL head coach than the person who currently occupies that job right now. Now, can Brian Callahan learn from these experiences that Mike Vrabel really didn't have to? Because he won right out of the gate, right? They were 9-7, AFC Championship in the second year. Then 2020, they had 11 wins. 2021, they had 12 wins, and then things spiraled in 22 and 23. But even then, it never bottomed out, right? Never bottomed out. 7 wins and 6 wins. It feels bad, and especially 7 straight losses at the end of 22. All of that feels bad, but that's not really bottoming out in the NFL. This is spiraling. This is redlining. This is the stuff that nightmares are made of. And the fact that you were sold on the idea that this product was supposed to be better, and it's nothing but worse across the board. I don't know how you can look at it and say that they've done this thing correctly, but maybe it's premature. They are worse statistically than the Ken Whisenhunt era through those first couple of starts. The fact that they are worse than arguably the worst head coach in the history of the Titans era. No, not arguably, inarguably the worst head coach in the history in 26 years of Titans football. I don't know how you could not understand and see that. But Kaharski actually went back and found statistics on the Whisenhunt era Titans, and that Brian Callahan's Titans are actually worse. That was not what he set out to find, but that was the piece that he ended up writing because that's what the numbers said. That's what it was. Puka said Vrabel inherited a playoff team. Yeah, he did, and he won with it, and he ran it until the brakes came off, and then the brakes came off and they sucked. So, I mean, you can knock Mike for that if you want to, and you can say that he didn't have to go through the same kind of struggles that Brian Callahan did, and those could be fair. But again, they've got a better roster for a coach that's done less with it. Carrie B says, Buck, how do you talk about this team 15 hours a week on the radio and another 5 hours a week on primetime and 615 and with Greg Cosell? Although there's never been less Titans on the install with Greg Cosell than there is right now, because the money's good. Because they pay me more money than I deserve to 2 different companies pay me more money than I deserve to talk about shitty football. So yes, as long as those checks keep cashing, baby, It doesn't bother me. I mean, other than I'd like to be entertained. And today was entertaining for a period of time, and then it became just laughable as opposed to entertaining, which I guess is a different kind of entertainment. But yeah, paycheck solid. Justin Parr says Buck needs a raise. Buck has a contractually negotiated raise every year just to protect myself against stuff like this. No, I'm kidding. That's what it is. Brendan Dupree says, why are most things said about the team from former players negative? I don't know specifically. I'll need more specifics on comments that you're referencing because I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I haven't seen any overwhelmingly negative comments about the Titans from former players. Unless there's something that's happened on Twitter in the last 30 minutes since we started this stream, 35 minutes since we started the stream that I must have missed. I think that this is something that they're just going to have to dig themselves out of. Jackie Hulbert says, "Get me a job, Buck. I'll do it too." Yeah, I mean, I don't know if A to Z's hiring. You can ask Austin. That's typically how these things go. That's not my department. But anyway, I think that there are, Camo says, I hate it when people always compare other players and coaches' stats and history when we are getting slaughtered each week. I hate it when people always compare other players and coaches' stats and history when we are getting slaughtered each week, ? I don't think the question mark was meant to be in there. Perhaps you're just talking about like comparing it against previous coaches. I mean, yeah, but like, you compare it against what you've seen in your history. And this is about as bad a stretch of football as they've had in their history. And they've had some bad stretches of football for sure. Puka says, Andy Reid, 5-11, his first year in the Eagles. Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, I'm not done with Brian Callahan just yet. But I am not encouraged. I'm not encouraged. And yeah, right now I'm not seeing it. So maybe we'll see something in the future. Wait until you see the Washington-Chicago finish, Buck. Yeah, I know. I just heard the cheers from the bar down the terminal. Sounds like an exciting game. It's again unfortunate that I missed seeing it. Either way, what was the most embarrassing part of the loss today? It was Jared Goff's stat line that beat you. I was going to say Brian Callahan's got to play better, coach better, but 12 of 15, 85 yards, 4 sacks taken, 4 losses of 33 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns for a rating of 129.9. Yeah, that's the most embarrassing thing that I saw. Roland says, fire the A to Z Sports staff. You suck. Well, I mean, there's enough people here. You got 323 people watching live here tonight. We must be doing something right, Roland. Perhaps you need to be tougher. Or, I don't know what your specific complaint is, whether that's with me, whether that's with Zach. And I mean, we can't do anything to make your football team better. And if you're going to give us shitty football to talk about on a week-to-week basis, then you're probably not going to like a lot of what we say. Or you could toughen up and just understand the reality of the situation and or you couldn't, and you can whine and cry about it and bitch and moan and still watch a shitty football team and feel no better about it either way. But, we're here to provide a service for you, and it's free. So I'm happy to take the feedback. If you've got legitimate feedback, then I'm happy. We're always willing to make adjustments around here. So if you got legit feedback, then I'd be happy to hear it, because I'm always, I dole out criticism for a living, and I can certainly take it. But if your complaint is, oh, you guys are too negative, you guys suck, yeah, well, okay, win a football game, and then we'll have something more positive to say. Zach is the MVP of A to Z, says curated. I'm inclined to agree with that. Zach and his cocaine eyes send me. They absolutely send me. They're excellent. But I haven't seen Zach in a while. I haven't done like a broadcast with Austin or Zach in a long time. We should probably get the original trio back together and see if we can't hash this thing out in a therapy session. Anyway, we'll do a quick Sunday Fun Day, and then I got to wrap this thing up because I've been doing a 35-minute YouTube broadcast from an airport terminal. I'm sure I'm bothering people. So we will do that here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com. Get your first workout free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMath Fitness is the place that you go. All right, so Titans didn't do anything to make you happy on Sunday, but Jameis Winston did, even though it was at the expense of Robert Walsh's Ravens. Even Bert has to enjoy Jameis Winston because he is a gem.
Jameis Winston making your first start since 2022. The word you used before the game was unwavering. How do you describe this victory?
Unwavering faith. ultimate belief, depending on the Lord. And depending on the Lord should have been first. He gets all the glory. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for this win.
Talk to me about your team and the way they showed up today, coming off 5 consecutive losses. No one would have blamed you guys if you gave up. How did your guys show up this week in practice to get it done today against the Baltimore Ravens?
One play at a time. We fought. We gave everything that we could possibly give. Thank you for the offensive line. Thank you for the defensive line of winning the trenches. And thank you for the Browns fans for coming up and standing up and helping us get a victory here at home.
It's not often that you get another opportunity like you have just received in the NFL. What does it mean to lead these guys and what could be the start of what you said is something special moving forward?
Man, it's a white boy from Detroit that I really admire named Eminem. He said, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime. And I know I got to quote, Eminem, he from Detroit, he right up the road, but man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that the Lord provided me with this opportunity. I'm grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and these amazing fans.
Unbelievable performance today. Congratulations, Jameis.
Protect Jameis Winston at all costs. He is a national treasure. Bert, how'd that W taste? How'd that W? He ate a W on your neck. Look at Bert. He's even frozen. He's staring off into the distance. He's miserable. He's sulking because his Ravens dropped the game to Mr. 30 for 30. Literally dropped the interceptions that Jameis Winston was throwing them. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight here from the Detroit airport. I'm going to jump on the flight and head back to Nashville. We'll do 3 hours of radio tomorrow on this nonsense, and we'll probably talk about if more people than the special teams coach should lose their jobs because nobody's been fired yet, but we are definitely trending in that direction. Have a great night, and tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone, where I'll be able to yell a lot louder than I was here at this abandoned terminal here in Detroit. See you guys. Oh, where's the video? I lost it. There's the video. Bye. Go home! Go home!